Hi everybody, Matthew Turnage here. Well, I've been a bit tied up with work and some other things and haven't had much time to do videos lately. But I had one in mind for a few weeks now to do that would be talking about one of my favorite non-Beatles bands, and that's Rush, or as I like to think of them, Canada's greatest export. Rush, I fell in love with around the year 2000 or so, bought up all their albums, and was fortunate enough to see them live because at the time I got into them, as Rush fans may remember, they were on a bit of a hiatus then. It was around that time, just that, well, probably into 99 when I first started getting into them, and then 99 going into 2000. And through that period, Geddy put out his first solo album. Then we got the word they were coming back. I was fortunate enough to see the very first show on the Snakes and Arrows tour. Caught them on the R40 tour. They were great both times. So I love Rush, and I've been thinking about doing this video. And then recently, via Glenn Kellaway from the Basement, I found out about a channel called Be Cool or Be Podcast Out, and check out that channel. I'll put in a link in the description. He's got a contest going. He's trying to reach 200 subscribers, and he's going to give away a vinyl copy of 2112 when he hits it. So be sure to go check out his channel, give him some love. He's a big Rush fan, and also he's got some videos on some other artists. I really liked his ranking of Ace Frehley's albums. I also love Ace. So anyway, let's get to it, ranking Rush's albums. From my least favorite to my favorite, and we'll start with number 19. It's going to be Presto. Presto is one of those albums, I don't listen to it and think it's bad, but there's not much that I think is really good. I like Show Don't Tell a lot. The Pass is good, but most of the album is just kind of there. I might like it better if it had a little bit better sound to it. This is the album where they're kind of trying to shift away from the synthesizer sound that had dominated the 80s into a more guitar sound, but Alex really has still a very kind of thin guitar tone. It doesn't have the meat it should. So it took him a little while to get back in the groove, and so this album, I just hardly ever reach for it. So Presto at number 19. Number 18, this is an album I wish I could like more than I do, but it's going to be Caress of Steel. It starts out so good. Bastille Day, I Think I'm Going Bald, and Lakeside Park. I love each of those three. And as we get on into the 70s, Rush did some great longer tunes, but the two longer tunes on here, The Necromancer and The Fountain of Lamneth, they just don't quite have it yet. They're fine, but it just doesn't measure up to what they did on the next few albums. So I've got Caress of Steel at 18. Now, I should say at this point, I don't really dislike any Rush albums. These near the bottom are just the ones that are just kind of okay for me. Next up is an album that I think a lot of fans like, but I just have not quite been able to get into it myself, and that's going to be Clockwork Angels. There's some good songs on here. Caravan, is pretty good. A couple other ones. But I just, Headlong Flight also, I was really disappointed when it came out because, remember, maybe a year or so before the album, they put out Caravan and BU2B as a single, and I like those versions a lot better than what we got on the album. There's like more punch to them. They seem to kind of lose something in the album mix, but I don't know. I just this album just never clicked with me. Although I will say, when I saw the R40 tour, the songs they did off of this, I enjoyed much more live. So I try to revisit that album every now and then, hoping something will click with me, but it just hasn't yet. Number 16, Hold Your Fire. This is another album that's, again, not bad, but there's just not enough to set it apart. Of course, we're in the heavy synthesizer era on this one. Not a lot of guitar, or at least not a lot of guitar emphasis. This is when Alex is doing guitar more as texture and color. But it's got some really good songs. Force 10, Time Stand Still, Mission. Those are songs that I really like a lot. Also, the cover is just so, boring. I think if I remember right, I read once that what ended up being the cover was going to be on the inside, and what was on the inside was going to be the cover, which is this image, which I thought that would have made a much more interesting cover. Kind of the same idea as moving pictures, and that it'd be more kind of a literal take on the phrase "Hold Your Fire." But as it is, I mean, it's just red and everything just kind of runs together. But it's, decent album, but not great. So number 15, Test for Echo. Again, we've got some good songs on here. The title track I like. Driven is really good. And Resist. There's some good stuff on here, but not all the way through great like some of the ones up above it. So that's 15. Number 14, Power Windows, back again in the synthesizer heavy 80s that we do have on this album. The Big Money, which I love. Mystic Rhythms is good on here too. Overall a stronger effort than Hold Your Fire, which followed it. Another synth heavy album, but I just like Rush more as a guitar band than a synthesizer band. So good album, not great album. Power Windows. See, I'm going to be losing track of the count, so that's 14. So number 13 will be the self-titled debut, Rush. Great hard rocking sound on this one, very much in the Led Zeppelin mode. Tracks like Finding My Way and What You're Doing, what a great song. In the Mood, Working Man, of course, is the classic on here. But even though you've got some really good songs like that, musically they're all pretty good, but some of the songs really suffer lyric-wise. They really needed Neil's lyrical input here at this point. Like Take a Friend, when I hear that song, I just roll my eyes. The lyrics are just so ridiculous. Number 12 is going to be Snakes and Arrows. This album I really did like. When it came out, Far Cry, I just thought it was one of the best songs they ever did. And it's got so many other good songs. The Main Monkey Business, all those songs I thought really worked great live too when I got to see them working them Angels. This was a really good album, and it's not going to measure up to the classic years, but for the later point in this career when this came out, I thought this was outstanding. Snakes and Arrows at number 12. Number 11, Roll the Bones. So coming off Presto, they were starting to get it a little bit closer on the guitars on this one. Dreamline is a great song to open the album. Bravado, I also love. And of course, the title track, famous for the rap bit in it, but I thought it was a really good song. I like the lyrics a lot to that one. Ghost of a Chance is also pretty good on here. This is a really good, really solid album. Not a classic, but really, really good. Roll the Bones. All right, so now I think we're into the top 10. So number 10 will be Vapor Trails. So this was the first new album to come out after I got into them. This was 2003, I think. And what a great statement of intent to open up this album with One Little Victory. I love that song. And there's so many good ones on here too. Ghost Rider, um, Peaceable Kingdom I liked a lot. The title track, Earthshine, really, really outstanding album. Of course, mastered a bit too hot, so it doesn't have a great sound to it, but the songs are excellent. So that's at number 10. Number 9, this was an album, you know, when I first heard it, when I first got into Rush, I didn't really care for it. And then, you know, I listened to it a few times, and then I kind of was focused on some of their other albums. A few months later, came back to it, and all of a sudden something clicked with me, and I just really grew to love this album. That's Grace Under Pressure. So 1984, we're again moving more into the synth area than the guitar focus, but we've got songs like Distant Early Warning, Red Sector A, The Enemy Within, Between the Wheels. What a great song that is. So many great songs on this one. Historically, maybe a little on the underrated side. I really appreciate this album a lot, although I know a lot of other Rush fans will sing the praises of this album too. So coming in at number 9, we've got Grace Under Pressure. Number 8, Fly By Night. So Neil arrives with this one, and John Rutsey did fine on the first album, but you do notice the difference in Neil's drumming, and especially in his lyrics. There was a big step up in the lyrics on this one. Of course, we've got Anthem kicking it off, which is great. The title track is one of my favorites by them, but maybe the highlight on this one is Bytor and the Snow Dog. Here's where we see them kind of moving into their longer, more proggy stuff musically. Great song. Of course, Beneath, Between, Behind. Almost forgot that one. That's another song I love. Great album. Love the cover too. Fly By Night. Number 8. Number 7. Of course, this is the real beginning of the heavy synth period here with 1982's Signals. As you can tell, I'm wearing a Signals t-shirt. This one, though, the synth work really works for me. It's still got a kind of a thicker sound to it than sort of the thin stuff that you get into in the Power Windows, Hold Your Fire era. We've got Subdivisions is one of my all-time favorite Rush songs, along with New World Man, of course. The Analog Kid, The Digital Man are both great. Losing It is great. Really good all the way through. So I think moving in the synth direction was not a bad idea overall. This album, it really works. And like I said, I think Grace Under Pressure really works. They just may have kind of got a little bit too soft, not quite as much edge as these two albums have. So Signals comes in at number 7. So number 6, Hemispheres. In terms of their prog era, this is certainly one to get. Cygnus X1 Book 2, Hemispheres, which is side 1 of the album, is really good. It took me a little while to get into that one as much as I've gotten into it now. But side 2 is the real winner on this album for me, because you've got Circumstances, which is such a great song. The Trees is one of my all-time favorite Rush songs, and the best song on this album to me is the instrumental that takes up half of side 2, which is La Villa Strangiato. Such a great tune. Musically, it's so interesting. Got so many great bits in it. Definitely recommend this one if you like prog and you want to check out Rush. This is definitely an album I would recommend highly. All right, and so now we're getting into the top 5. Number 5 would be the album before that, which is A Farewell to Kings. Again, we're in the heavy rock or heavy prog era of Rush, but still with, we've got the heavy guitars in here too. The title track is great. Xanadu is the highlight of the album for me. Such a great, big, epic track. And the last track on the album, also Cygnus X1, is just mind blowing. The Rush were really firing on all cylinders here through the mid to late 70s, going into the early 80s. So number 5, A Farewell to Kings. Number 4, now this is a later album, but one that I just totally love, and that's going to be Counterparts from 1993. This was sort of Rush's, in some ways, their response to the grunge movement, is what you'll usually see. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't sound particularly grungy. The main thing is here, now they finally got the guitars back. This is a very much a guitar-dominated album. And I guess where some people make the sort of grunge comparison is to some of the guitar tones used in here. But in terms of the types of songs they're writing, this is very much Rush. And it's got some great tunes like Animate, Stick It Out. I love that song. Nobody's Hero is one of my favorites on here. The Speed of Love I always liked a lot. Everyday Glory is a great tune to wrap up the album. And what's really great about this album, in addition to all the great guitar work, is the lyrics. The title kind of gives you, points you to the theme of the album, which is relationships. It's things that go together, counterparts, men and women, different things like, relationships where you have, different pieces of the same, different pieces that come together to make something, perhaps greater than the sum of the parts. So lyrically, I think it's one of Neil's best too. So number 4, Counterparts. Number 3, 2112. Of course, the album that really broke Rush. It is a great album. It is well deserved its reputation. The suite on the first half, the first side of the album, the 2112. Is epic. The overture and Temples of Syrinx kicking off that are just mind-blowing, but it's great all the way through. Epic grand finale. Love the ending, with Neil saying, "Attention all planets of the Solar Federation, we've assumed control." It's just so epic, the whole bit. And of course on side 2 you get tracks like A Passage to Bangkok and Something for Nothing, which are really great. This is a killer album. Definitely recommend this one. Also, highly recommend this one. It's no wonder that they broke big with this one, because they really hit it on all cylinders here with 2112. That's number 3. But their peak for me, their top peak, as great as that stuff in the back half of the 70s was, those very early 80s albums, they really had it all together. They had kind of moved a bit beyond the prog and were incorporating some wider influences while still having some of the longer and more musically adventurous songs. So number 2, this was probably their biggest hit overall, Moving Pictures. Of course, you've got Tom Sawyer. That's the song that you can't listen to a classic rock radio station without hearing. Limelight is my favorite one on here. But you've also got YYZ, Witch Hunt, Vital Signs. Every song on here is great. And again, I love the cover artwork. Sort of taking the moving pictures literally. With the moving men moving the pictures, the paintings from the gallery. And I also thought it was clever. So to do that, and then to do another twist on the twist, in the back cover, you back it up and it's a motion picture crew making a moving picture of men moving pictures. So that stuff always appeals to my sense of humor. And that's another thing about Rush. They've got a great sense of humor. So number 2, Moving Pictures. And then, of course, means that number 1 from 1980, the album that preceded it, Permanent Waves. I love this album because it really sort of straddles the decades well. We don't have the sidelong epics that we had on albums like Hemispheres and 2112, Caress of Steel. But we do have some long songs with a lot of that are very musically adventurous and very idiosyncratically Rush, with Natural Science, which is, I mean, that song is just so mind-blowing. If you haven't heard Natural Science, as soon as this video is over, go listen to that song. It will just blow your mind. Jacob's Ladder is another one that I love. Entre Nous is a very underrated song. I was so excited to get to see it played live for the very first time on the Snakes and Arrows tour. Different Strings is another song. The lyrics to all these songs are great, but Entre Nous has some of my all-time favorite lyrics, and Different Strings is great as well. Free Will, of course, another big classic rock staple, but the opening track on this album, it's not only my favorite Rush song, but certainly one of my very favorite songs of all time, The Spirit of Radio. Musically, it is just perfect, and lyrically, it just says everything that music means to me. It's all captured in the lyrics to that song. I feel so moved every time I hear it. I can listen to that song and think, Neil felt the same way that I feel about music. It is such an all-time classic, and when celebrities pass away, I mean it's a sad thing, but it's nobody that I know personally, and so while I'm saddened by their loss, I don't feel like a deep emotional impact, typically. But when Neil Peart died, that really hit me hard, and it's because in a lot of his lyrics I was able to really connect with him. Feel like there were, not everything, but there were several things where I felt like, the way he thought and the way he felt about things were similar to the way I thought and felt about him. So he was a great lyricist and a great drummer. He'll be missed. I'm glad I got to see the band live a couple times, and glad that Getty and Alex are still with us. Looking forward to whatever music they may grace us with. Such a great band and such great talents. So there you go. There's Rush albums ranked by me from least favorite to favorite. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.